tonight's meeting. This is our joint, twice annual joint meeting with our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. So I want to welcome everybody here. We're going to do a roll call. I guess we'll do a roll call first for the board and then a roll call for the Oversight Committee. And who's going to do that? Here she is.
Mr. Enos?
Here.
Mr. Groves?
Here.
Ms. Merriweather?
Here.
Mr. Ramsey? Absent. President Cronenberg?
Here.
It's up to you. You want to ask me?
Charlie, would you take a roll?
Okay. Tom Waller.
Here.
Gerard Boulanger. Dennis Hicks.
Here.
Thomasina Horsley. Tim Warner. Yvette Rico.
Here.
Charles Cowens. Here. Kristen Rosecrans. Julio Arroyo. Ken Jett. Orlandis Waters. Norma Martinez Rubin. Paul Morris. And Madam Chair, do you remember which people have notified us before?
Yes, I've been notified by Julio and Norma that they would not be in attendance.
Okay, that's it for roll.
All right. And I think at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you, Madam Chair, because we'll be doing our own approval of the minutes from our last meeting when we begin our board meeting later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Approval of the agenda for the CBOC. Are there any comments with regard to the agenda? Charlie.
Yes, there are two separate agendas that we have. One is the agenda that's the real agenda is, of course, the one that's in the board packet, because that's the, but there's the agenda that we submitted to be the agenda, which is different in some ways than the agenda that we're actually going to have to follow. In the ways that it's different is that we had asked for the let's see. We had asked for the discussion of the resolution we passed to be part of the regular meeting, and we had asked for, we didn't want the normal project status update, so we turned that into a format for project status updates. So I just wanted to draw attention to that as something that needs to be worked on, and that's part of the, there's no point in, I mean, we have to follow the agenda that's in the board packet. So I'd like to suggest that since people have prepared to do the normal slide deck kind of presentation, we should go ahead with that, even though we didn't really ask for it, but we should try and limit it in time and make it as quick as possible so that we have time to discuss other things. And then I'd also like to request, I know that the school board can move agenda items around, so if it's possible to move the discussion item for the resolution that came from the CBOC up front as much as possible, that would be convenient for us. So after going on and on, I move the adoption of the agenda.
Second. Orlandis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ken?
Oh, you turn on your mic.
At our last meeting, we agreed to not have the status update because it takes too much time, and we have a lot of other items that we want. I don't think that it is proper. We asked for it not to occur. I think it should not occur. We don't need it. We get update every month, and we don't need this. It's just a waste.
Yes. What we'd like to request is that the status update that you have on tap for today be part of another agenda. In other words, we have such a limited amount of time to have a joint meeting and we have several issues that we've deemed to be quite important. That the status update, if we can do that in a very quick and efficient way, that's fine. But if it's going to be a long, protracted presentation, and frankly speaking, from the CBOC, we feel that all these pretty little pictures don't present us with the information that we need in order to make decisions.
So may it would make sense to me then to move it. Why don't we move it to at the end, right after public comment?
Point of order? We just, we
Oh,
approved
no,
the
you just
agenda
approved it,
already.
didn't
So
you?
I think you'd be happy as long as it's, I mean, not happy, but
Be shorter.
it could just be brief.
Madam Chair, there has been a change because really the only thing that staff had planned to do is pick a couple of projects from the project update to talk about, but we wanted to provide the committee with all the information. So since we were second to last on the agenda, that would dictate how many projects that Mr. Abdallah would take. And so we can do 1, 2, 3, as much as you like.
Anyone else? Charlie.
I just also would like to point out that part of the problem with the agenda, I mean, the board agenda has very good explanations of what you're actually going to talk about in the précis and everything like that. It's very, I mean, we really need to, we've fallen down in that way in the committee. We have to make, the agenda items really need to be a little clear. Like, what does performance audit actually mean? Does it mean the last performance audit or the coming performance audit? Who's speaking? And the mid-year report review, what exactly are we, I mean, is that going to have a presentation or not? So I'd just like to point that out for future meetings.
We have approved the agenda, so let's move to the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes, and are there any changes? I have a change. Line 16, my last name is misspelled. Anyone else? Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes. Ken Jett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. All right. The chair's report. Because this is a rare opportunity, as I said, for this committee to have an opportunity to meet face-to-face with the members of the board, I find it's time for some very frank speaking with regard to how the CBOC is perceived. On the website, it says the CBOC is the instrument for the free flow of information between the district and the community. And we don't feel that that's what's happening. And I think you will see that there are members of the public here who will address that. We think it's extremely critical that some changes take place. Some of those changes have been listed in our Resolution 13-1, and I'm hopeful that they will, in fact, prompt changes, positive changes. In addition to that, it seems to me that there are still a few other areas that I would like to point out as areas that need to be considered by the board. Respectfully, I would like the district to provide a full report on the actions taken by the Facilities Subcommittee to the CBOC subsequent to their Facilities Subcommittee meeting. I would like to ensure that a board member be present at all CBOC meetings. For the last several months, no board member has been in attendance. I'd like to do away with the pretty picture project update status report by staff, which gives the CBOC no nuts and bolts information and no basis for comparison. And of course, it goes without saying that we need better data for the public and a method by which they can request the data and receive it timely. And now I will end my chair's report, and I'd like to ask the members of my committee if they have anything that they would like to speak about, to take this opportunity to do that.
In regard to the relocation, the FOC, I raised a concern about the transition. I think the committee had called for a budget and use occupancy approach to the building, and because it's not occupied, and my understanding is vagrants and transients might be loitering, and that there might be some sustained damage. Is there a security plan that would be put forth to offset mitigated damages that you're going to have to come back? My biggest fear is a fire to be started for an area that you've identified in terms of it. And then lastly, a budget for the move itself that would take on the cost of renovation, right down to the equipping of the site and whatever IT needs, what type of transition plan and timeline is going to be involved in that move. Thank you.
I'd like to speak on behalf of safety, if I may. Are safety concerns or incidents reported to the board or to the committee on these projects, our ongoing projects? That's a question I have, I guess. If they're not, I would ask that we be informed, or the board and the committee be informed of any incidents, safety, or near-miss incidences, so they could be monitored. And I say this because I came across an incident on October 2nd, going by the future Portland School site. I saw the dump truck had lost some of its rear wheel hydraulics, and there were several police cars around, and it seemed to create a lot of attention in that intersection over in El Cerrito. So my concern is our impact on the neighborhoods as the projects are ongoing, and what can we do to mitigate any safety concerns as the project equipment rolls through the neighborhood here. I think, again, the board, the committee should be informed of such incidents so we know if they exist or not.
Mr. Fay, is that something that we can receive from you?
Certainly we can prioritize that. The general contractor is responsible for the vehicles. He either owns them or rents them. If there was an incident that happened on the street in El Cerrito, I don't know that we would be notified of that. But anything that the topics are discussed in the weekly tailgate meetings is where safety is discussed on site. We can certainly provide you with that information.
But if a member has a question such as that, they can simply send you an email and request that you provide some information with regard to that.
If I can get to the information, I will certainly provide it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. So we'll move on to future joint meetings. Oh, excuse me, one thing. There's been a change to the agenda. Magdi, PG&E.
With your permission, Madam Chair, it's just that there is a request for public speaking. We have a representative here from PG&E, They would like to present the district with a check from PG&E for saving by design. It's going to be under the public speaking. If you allow us a couple of minutes to present the check to Dr. Harder. Well, I have Ms. Wanda Brady of PG&E and Mr. Marcos Mintos. Please, can you come up to the podium?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
While this is going on, I'd like to point out that there is the regular public comment period. People can turn in their orange slips over to Christina over there at the computer if you want to speak during the regular public comment period.
Okay, as Mr. Abdallah said, we have Wanda Brady and Marcos Montes from PG&E. And this check represents savings by design incentive for the De Anza High School project. And over the last 3 years, the school district has received almost $1 million in incentive money from PG&E for our participation in the Savings by Design program. And it's a statewide program that's sponsored by a lot of the utility companies, even some of the ones down south, to incentivize owners to really go after energy efficiency and to build your new buildings as energy efficiently as you can. Wanda, did you want to say a few things?
I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to take a few minutes to make this presentation and to remind you that any project that is going to generate energy savings or energy efficiency in the building and design, these types of incentives are available. And like Keith had mentioned earlier, in the last 3 years, we've paid out almost $1 million in incentives for various projects, not only savings by design to the district, not only in savings by design, but there were some modernizations, there were IT projects, and some other smaller retrofit type projects like lighting retrofits and things like that. So anytime that you see an opportunity for energy savings, get us involved because we want to give this money back to the district. And this check really represents the incremental cost of the efficiency measures that were installed, so that when you take that, go to the next level of efficiency, there's a cost for that. So this is the cost basically to help offset that. This is a check to help offset that cost. The bigger savings comes from the energy efficiency that you've designed into the facility over the life of the facility. That's where the saving comes from. And that's ongoing. This is one time, but the savings are ongoing. All right? Thank you so much.
Right.
And
thank you so much.
who gets the actual check?
The other little check. Yeah, we're going to cash this one.
Yeah.
We could try.
All right, who are we going to give this to? What you take?
Yeah,
Thank you
photo
so
op.
much.
Oh, Madam Chair, can I point out that we're basically, we are in public comment now, right? That's the idea. So would it be possible, does it make sense to call the other, there are at least 2 public comment speakers. Should we just do the public comment now?
Well, we have A7, which is future joint
Okay,
meetings.
you want to do it that way?
Okay. Agenda item A7 is future joint meetings. We typically hold joint meetings with the board twice a year. This is the second of those meetings this year. Mm-hmm. And the only request I have is that we work together with the board to coordinate collaboratively the dates that we're going to have those meetings so that they do not conflict with whatever else we may be doing or create a problem for my membership.
Dr. Harder, how far out are the board meetings calendar? Because we usually just find a board meeting that's already scheduled and try and make that a joint meeting. Thank you.
B1, the mid-year report review.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam President, Dr. Harder, member of the Board of Education, and members of the Bond Oversight Committee. Very quickly, and for the sake of time, I am going to go through 5 areas of concerns that came in the performance audit last year. I'll be able to respond to 4 of them. Mr. Cohen, on my right, will be able to respond to the 5th one. And
Madam Chair, at our last meeting, we requested that this be given to the audit. We requested that this be given to the audit committee and that the presentation be made to this committee by the auditors.
Madam Chair, the mid-year report response was submitted to the committee in the meeting where we had the tour at De Anza High School. Respond to the mid-year report is the responsibility of staff. We welcome any comments on the response at any point.
Mr. Jett, when did you meet with the audit committee last?
At the time, Ms. Hunt, I think, was the chair, and she has since resigned. And then, excuse me, and I think that you appointed Orlando as the chairperson of the audit.
Yes.
And as I understand it, he's getting ready to schedule a meeting. I don't think that it is appropriate for staff to respond to an audit on them when we should have the auditors respond to us. The same persons that are in this mid-review are the exact same or part of some of the issues that was raised in the audit that we received. At that time, when we brought it up at, I think was the May meeting, we were told, and it's on the tape, that the auditors were lying. Now, I don't think that it is appropriate for staff to present this audit. We can read the audit, and so I read it, but so
Well,
I think it should be done.
Although I agree that I would like to have the staff present this review so that the audit subcommittee can then meet and discuss and have a meaningful dialogue about this. But I think for the entire committee to be able to hear this report tonight, and then further than that, we'll take a separate action. Charlie?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
The B1 and B2 are identical. B1 is part of the audit findings in B2.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think we're going to have to soldier on through this, but I think this is an example of why these 2 items were inserted by staff, not by the committee, and that's part of why the committee should set up at least control its agenda, is because then if someone like us, we are aware of concerns that were raised in the committee before, and we don't get into this kind of problem. But I think Mr. Jett's concerns are valid, but that we're kind of stuck right now, and that we should just look at this as an example of why we should control our agenda more, that when things are inserted into the agenda, they should be done after consulting with us and not, much more clearly. So I think we should just move on and accept Mr. Jett's objections, and I think your suggestion makes sense, that he'll present on the mid-year report, and then we'll act on it in our own way further down the line.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the records, that same response in your packet today was submitted to the committee 2 months ago. Just to remind Mr. Towns that this agenda was approved by the chair before it was published. But instead of going so far, if you allow me just to go very quickly, and I promise I'll take 2 minutes to go over this. The concern number 1 was about the program management and how is it program management consultant team was working without a contract. In late 2012, we have went out with an RFPQ. We've done some interviews early in 2012, and we submitted a selection to the facility subcommittee in June. We took it to the board in July, and finally a new contract for the new consultant firm was approved just last month. This month, last meeting. So the answer to that, which is a matter of fact, that a new contract for Measure D 2020, but Measure E 2012, in process, it is attached, it is scheduled to be approved by the Board of Education on July 24th, which was submitted in that date and was approved last week. Second concern was regarding the bidding procurement procedures, which was regarding one of the very small projects that was awarded. We failed to bring it, actually it was rejected, and we failed to bring it to the board to ratify the rejection of all the bids. And the concern was what action did the district taken to ensure that all bids is accepted or rejected by the board, and our response was we have initiated an award log, and it's been incorporated in our board approval process. The board, for example, last meeting has approved the final patch of such a small projects for the fiscal year of 2013. Change order procedure was a concern number 3. There was a concern about compensable delays in the contractors, and the question was, what did the district do? And what action has the district and its consultant taken to ensure that the compensable days be kept to a minimum? And our response to that we are going to do training, staff training, and actually we're meeting on this next week, and we will do some training to address the issues to how to mitigate claims and how to mitigate compensable delays. Concern number 4 was about claim avoidance, and the concern was, has the district reinstated the change order committee as recommended by the auditor? And the answer to that was yes. We have been reinstated the change order committee, and I meet regularly every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And as the board probably can attest to that, the change order has been kept very minimum. Concern number 5, and regarding to the finance, I'll have Mr. Coyne respond to that.
Okay, the finding was that there was a missing signature on 3 invoices out of 2,707 invoices, and 12 dates weren't included. What we've done is I've sat down with my staff, talked with them, and we've audited 100 invoices a month. For the first month, we had 1 error, one signature missing, and then we did 3 more months where there was no signatures missing. And also on those 100 invoices, there's 5 signatures. So literally on the 3 months, where we had 3 months in a row, there was 1,500 signatures and there was none missing. So, but we're continuing to work hard to make sure there are no missing signatures and no dates missing, and we're hoping this year will be very successful.
Thank you.
I just have, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Members, regarding the report.
I have a question.
Review.
The way that this was explained in the audit,
I don't hear you.
the way that this was explained in the audit was that the checks were approved and dispersed without the proper approvals. And what you're saying, your response is that you issue thousands of checks, and that this was just few. One check issued without proper approval is a major problem.
Well, on each check,